What's up, Pokemon fans? I'm Nidovin, and today we're going to have a look at how to store Pokemon cards. So when I started collecting again, one of the things that I wanted to know was how to store my Pokemon cards well. The reason why I wanted to know how to store them well was because I knew that if I just looked after the cards that I had back in the early 2000s, I would have them in pristine condition now. I might have even graded some and they would have held some amazing memories for me. So now that I'm collecting again, what I'm trying my best to do is to preserve the integrity and the condition of the cards that I now have. What this means is that in the future, if the value of the cards do go up, I'd be able to sell them at a higher price because I've actually looked after them, or I'd be able to look back over my collection and remember those fond memories because I'd preserved the condition of the cards. So whether you collect Pokemon cards for the purpose of playing the TCG, whether you collect them because they have significant value or could potentially have significant value, or if you collect them simply because you love the artwork, this video is for you. But before we get into that, what we need are some Pokemon cards to actually store. So here we go, we've got these 2 packs, we're gonna rip them open. So usually with these, just rip them right open. Let's have a look. We've got the Hisuian Typhlosion. Alright, let's see what we get here. Yanmega, Cranidos, some Cologne, Hisuian, Glameow, Swinub. I love all these scenes from the Legends Arceus. Look at that Ponyta, amazing. Just for the purpose of demonstration. See if we can get anything better in the next one. Alright. Kricketune, Unidentified Fossil, Bronzong, Combi, Psyduck. Come on, can we get anything? Here we go, Heracross, that'll do. And the Ursaluna. Alright, so we got a couple of those. Alright, so we have a couple of cards right here that we're gonna have a look at how to store correctly. The first thing we want to do, guys, if you're getting into Pokemon collecting, is you've absolutely got to have penny sleeves. Sometimes these are known as card sleeves, but the penny sleeve is like the quintessential storage item that you need if you're a collector. So grab yourself some penny sleeves and sleeve up your hits. You can pick up penny sleeves at pretty much any game store. You can pick them up online, which is where I recommend you grab them, on Amazon, eBay, that sort of thing as well. Your local game store will also have penny sleeves. So you're going to want to make sure that you have some penny sleeves. These are just some that I picked up from a shop called EB Games here in Australia. I think they're like a GameStop brand. Literally just crack them open. We'll have a couple. And sleeve up your hits or not hits. So here we go. Heracross. And Regirock. There we go. So here we have our 2 cards in their penny sleeves, which are an absolute must when it comes to Pokemon card storage. So the next thing that I highly recommend that collectors should have at the ready are these things called top loaders. So what is a top loader? Well, it is actually a kind of semi-rigid or a rigid piece of plastic, and it is in and of itself a sleeve. So what we do is we take our card, put it in a penny sleeve, and then we store it in one of these top loaders to make sure that it has some structural stability when we store the card. So please, guys, make sure that when you do put them into a top loader, you put them into the penny sleeve first and then into the top loader, okay? If you put the card straight into the top loader without the penny sleeve, there is a propensity for the card to get scratched and damaged while it moves around. You can see there is a bit of space on the edges of this top loader that a loose card will just move around and get damaged in. So you want to make sure that we penny sleeve first and then hit it with the top loader. So pop your cards in top loaders. There are other versions of top loaders that you can get. I've noticed that when I purchase cards from overseas, especially from Japan, they like to send these larger versions or variants of top loaders with my orders, and they look something like this. As you can see, they are a lot bigger. I'm not sure why they do that, but I don't mind it, and it seems to look after the cards pretty well, especially in transit. So you can get them in all sorts of shapes and sizes. There is, however, another type of top loader sleeve that you can put your cards in, and it's something called a semi-rigid sleeve. Some people call these card savers, and it is the type of sleeve most commonly used for sending cards to get graded. Card savers are a bit more of a thinner plastic sleeve, and they look a little bit like this. So as you can see, this is an Ultra Pro card saver. You just slide your card in like this, and they can also serve as another additional piece of protection for your cards. It's a bit easier to find top loaders in stores rather than the Ultra Pro type semi-rigid stuff, but I think it is a matter of personal preference. I really do like the top loaders though, so I roll with these. There are some other things we can do to make sure that our cards are safe and well looked after. And sometimes that can come down to what we store them in. One of the things that I recommend that you store your top loaded cards in is an airtight container. So a container that is watertight and airtight is ideal. And something like this, which is something I got from Kmart, would do the trick. So as you can see, this thing is airtight and watertight. And I put in one of these moisture absorption sachets. And what we can do is just take our cards and pop them in there and keep them safe. I like to store my cards in these airtight containers because it means that the cards are kept free from moisture. Moisture can cause cards to warp and change their shape over enough time. It also means that the cards can stay dry in case there's any kind of sort of humidity or moisture in the air as well. But another way that we can store our cards is to obviously put them into binders. This means that we can look at them, look through, sort, build collections, show our friends our collections quite easily, as opposed to having to pull out a box every time you want to show someone or show off your collection. What I would recommend, however, is grabbing your penny sleeves, putting your cards in your penny sleeves, and then putting them into your binder. The other thing I'd recommend is finding a binder that doesn't have rings in it. I know that in the late 1990s and in the early 2000s, binders with rings were quite popular. But what happens is when you put a card into a binder with rings in it, there's a propensity for the rings to actually damage the cards. It causes something called binder burr or binder damage, and you kind of want to really avoid that at all costs. What you want to do is find a binder that doesn't have rings. This is a ringless binder that I have. That is a vintage ringless binder, and I'm currently using this to store a collection that I'm building. As you can see, this is a Shadowless base set collection. And as you can see, I've got the cards in there and sitting nicely in the binder. They're not getting damaged by the rings. Now, what I do recommend you do, however, is when you put your cards into your binder, make sure they are in their sleeves. So as you can see here, if we pull out, for example, this Alakazam, or even this Gyarados, you can see that it is indeed still in a sleeve. We want to make sure that even though it is in a binder, that it doesn't get damaged going in and out of the binder itself. Okay, so we now know that we've absolutely got to have our penny sleeves. We've got to have our cards in the penny sleeves, in a binder, or in a top loader and stored somewhere secure and safe. But perhaps the most effective way to actually store and keep a card safe is actually to grade it. Grading a Pokemon card is perhaps the most secure and safe way to ensure that a card is free from any further damage. we can grade our cards with any number of grading services. Here I have one that's graded by a popular grading service, which is called PSA. And when PSA graded this card, they sonically sealed and encapsulated this card in a hard piece of plastic, as you can see here. This means that the likelihood of any further damage to the card is significantly reduced, and it can be stored quite safely. Again, we want to store a graded card in a similar way to the top-loaded cards, keep them in an airtight and watertight container, keep them free from moisture. But grading a card is perhaps the most effective way to preserve the condition of your Pokemon cards. Some of the things that we want to avoid when we're storing Pokemon cards would be things like moisture, humidity, extreme temperatures, whether that be cold or hot. We want to avoid direct sunlight, because direct sunlight on our cards can mean sun bleaching and discoloration. We obviously want to keep them clean in a cool, dry place. Whether your cards are in their binders or in their top loaders in boxes, or if they're graded and they're in a box somewhere, we just want to make sure that we're avoiding all of those things. I hope this information has been helpful for you guys who are new to collecting. It certainly was helpful to me, just to know that you can pick up penny sleeves, what to search for even when I'm looking for them. When it came to top loaders, I didn't even know what they were called, so looking for them online was kind of hard, but just knowing what they're called and some of the potential places that we can get them can really help us when it comes to storing our Pokemon cards well. Well guys, that's all I have for you on the topic of how to store our Pokemon cards. If you did get something good out of this video, could I ask you to please leave a comment in the comment section below, and if you think that this will help someone else like you who's new to the hobby, could I ask that you like and subscribe to my channel. If there were any other topics that you want me to cover in relation to Pokemon card collecting, please leave me a comment in the comment section below, and I will try my best to get to it in the coming weeks. Thank you so much for tuning in again to the Nidovian YouTube channel, and I will see you on the next one.